Hey everyone, it's Megan. Welcome back to my channel. It's currently Thursday. I'm in Portland. I'm getting ready to go to New York, which I'm very excited about. Originally, I was going to make my second video on my channel about some traveling tips, which I'm still gonna put up in the next couple days. But after a couple of my friends reached out to me and said that they needed to stop living paycheck to paycheck, they needed to be better with money and budgeting, I was inspired to make this video. So today's video is how to stop living paycheck to paycheck and how I stopped living paycheck to paycheck. So let's get started. Here we go. If you see me looking down to the side, that's because I have notes on this video. So the first thing I want to start this video is with a statistic that I've read all over the internet. It's very easy if you want to find it. That statistic is that over 70%, around 75% of US workers live paycheck to paycheck, which when I first read that was just insane to me. I just couldn't believe that. And it actually made me really, really sad, because that means that 75% of US workers don't have enough savings to cover a basic emergency. Like, for instance, my spark plugs went out in my Subaru the other day and I had to get new spark plugs and wires. And on my car, that was about $390, so about $400. So most Americans don't have the basic expenses to cover a spark plug change on their car, which is insane if you think about it. That's why I'm making this video. I used to live paycheck to paycheck. It's been a very long time since I think I stopped living that way 3 years ago. But for a very long time, that's how I lived. I just thought that was normal. This video is about helping you stop living to paycheck, and let's get into it. So the first thing is you're gonna have to live below your means. And simply what this is you have to spend less money than you take in every single month. If you don't, then you're living paycheck to paycheck because you're spending everything that comes in. That means that you have to spend less than you make, right? What I mean when I say living below your means is it's not living a bad quality of life. It's not being poor. It's not having a bad lifestyle. It's having a comfortable lifestyle on the money that you make and still being able to save money. And it's hard, and I feel like there's this mentality in the US to have all these expensive things and keep up with the Joneses. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. And for me, I had to learn that, I don't need to drive a brand new car, and I don't need all these designer clothes and handbags, because what does it matter if I have all these nice things but I have no money and I'm struggling to support myself? That is so backwards to me on so many different levels. So if you're going to live within your means, you need to not keep up with the Joneses, and you need to not buy things you can't afford. So if you're living below your means, that means not buying things that you can't afford. So that means driving a car that's 15 to 25% of your total yearly income, or not buying a house or paying rent that you can't afford. There's no reason for you to pay $1,000 in rent if you make $2,000 a month. You can't afford that rent. Your rent should be ideally no more than 28 to 30% of your living costs. If you make $2,000 a month and you're paying $1,000 in rent, that's about 50% of your income. You're going to have a really hard time saving money if you're paying that much in rent. If you're serious about saving money, not living paycheck to paycheck, and not being stressed about having money in savings or having the money that you need to cover your expenses, you might need to evaluate your lifestyle and see if you're living a life that is beyond your means. If you are living paycheck to paycheck and you have a lot of debt, then you probably are. So building on that, you have to make a budget. I am making a budgeting for beginners video. If you have never made a budget before, I'm gonna link that in the description below. I'm not gonna get too much into it in this video, but I probably will say that in every single financial video that I make. You need to make a budget. It's just the smart thing to do. It's what you have to do. Third tip I have is to pay yourself first after you pay your bills. So when you get your paycheck, make sure you pay your bills. That should be your number one priority. The roof above your head should be your number one priority. Pay your bills first. After you pay your bills, take a chunk of what money is left over and put it in savings. If you make a budget, you'll know exactly how much you can put in savings. So just automatically put that money in savings and forget that it's there. Just act like it's not there. An easy way to do this is to have automatic percentages come out of your paycheck. If you have direct deposit, you can set it up where a certain percent of your money goes to a savings account, whether that's attached to your checking, or you can make a completely separate bank account that is only a savings account and put money into that. That, if you have a really hard time saving, is probably a really good idea for you, because then it's less available. And if you want to impulsively spend that money, it's harder for you to have access to that money, versus if it's a savings account that's attached to a checking account like mine. If I overdrafted my checking, the money would just come out of my savings. The next tip is to cut unnecessary subscriptions and expenses. If you're paying $100 a month for cable, do you really need that? Probably not. Can you suffice with Hulu, Netflix, whatever else is out there? Probably. If you're paying $100 and something a month to go to Core Power, but you're living paycheck to paycheck and you want to stop doing that, you should probably get rid of Core Power. You can get a Class Pass subscription for $35 a month and still go to Core Power a few times a month, or other yoga studios that might be cheaper. Lots of studios run specials. There's different gyms that have different classes. You should not be paying over $100 a month to go to yoga or dance class. I'm not saying you should get rid of these things entirely, especially if you really like them and care about them, but there are other ways for you to go to those classes, enjoy them, and not be spending a whole bunch of money. One of those ways is to become a teacher, a yoga teacher, and then you can actually make money from doing that too. So that's win-win. The next thing is to stop buying things that you don't need. And I have so many people in my life who I see this happen with, and I love them all to death, and I just keep my mouth shut because it's not my business. But you know, I have tons of people that I know that are like, oh, I don't have enough money to make ends meet, or I'm struggling, but then they go to the mall and they spend hundreds of dollars on clothes or makeup, or you know, just random things that you don't need. And you really have to sit down and evaluate what is more important to you. Is being financially stable and having enough money to live comfortably and cover your expenses and not worry about an emergency if something happens more important to you? Or is buying new clothes more important to you, or going to Sephora and spending $100 more important to you? You have to decide. Nobody can make this choice for you. If you're here, you're probably at a point where you've decided you're sick of living paycheck to paycheck and you want to do something about it. So it's up to you. Are you going to do something about it, or are you going to continue the habits that got you here in the first place? For me personally, I decided that I wanted to save money. I wanted to be out of debt. I want to be financially stable, because I get anxiety about debt and I don't feel good when I have debt, or I don't have enough money to cover my expenses, or I'm struggling. So I decided that that was more important to me, but you have to decide what is more important to you. These next two tips involve food and saving money when at the grocery store and eating out. Food is, I think, the third largest expense after housing, transportation. It's food. So if you are spending a ton of your money on eating out, stop. Like, seriously, stop. And I don't mean completely, but cut down how much you're eating out. You can save hundreds of dollars, literally hundreds of dollars each month from just stopping eating out, or just going to eat out once a week with friends, or you know, maybe having a Starbucks coffee once a week instead of every single day. Another tip for when you go to the grocery store is to meal prep. So if you know how to cook, or if you don't know how to cook, there's plenty of YouTube videos that'll teach you how. You can make a meal plan for the week or even a couple days, and then figure out which ingredients you need, go to the store and buy them. If you make a list and you only buy the things that are on your list at the grocery store, you're going to be saving a ton of money, because it's really easy to go to the grocery store and just buy things that you don't need. I'm definitely guilty of it. Never go to the grocery store hungry, because you'll come out with like weird things. I have come out with some weird things from the grocery store when I'm starving, things that I would normally never even eat. So make sure that you make a list when you go to the grocery store, stick to it. Also, a lot of grocery stores have mobile coupons now. So King Soopers, which is a popular grocery store where I live, it could be Fred Meyer or Smith's or Kroger. depending on where you live. If you go to their website, you can clip mobile coupons and they just attach to your loyalty reward number. And when you check out and you scan your loyalty card, they apply to your basket. So that is a good avenue to save money with groceries. You can also shop the sale flyer each week. You gotta get creative. Once again, as I said earlier, it's just one of those things. You have to make a decision. Are you willing to spend a little time into being frugal or putting time and effort into saving money? Or do you not care enough where you would rather just be broke? I don't know, it's your decision. Number 8, and this one is a big one. Stop impulse spending. This kind of builds on the stop buying things that you don't need, because if you're impulse spending, that means you haven't planned for it and it's not something that is within your budget. An example of this is if you're hanging out with your friend and your friend says, let's go to the mall. And then you go to the mall and then you go to a store and you find this really cute top and it's only $80 and it looks great on you, and then you buy it. So that's $80 that you didn't plan into your budget and that you've just blown, and that could have been used for something else like bills or food, or been saved, but instead now you've just blown it on a shirt that you don't really need, you didn't really necessarily want or plan to buy, you just bought it impulsively. So stop impulse spending. Another thing that you should do is give yourself a certain amount of money each month for clothing or just miscellaneous expenses. And then if you do buy something, you can just take it out of those miscellaneous expenses. That's what I do. It helps me feel like I have the power to buy whatever I want, as long as it's within my miscellaneous expenses budget. Building on that, plan for big purchases. If you have a big purchase or you want something, you can start saving for it now. If you really, really want something, you're still gonna want it in a couple months. That's another thing, is if you want something and you think you really, really want something, don't buy it and then wait like 2 weeks, wait like a month, see if you still want it. See if you can still remember it. If you can't, you probably didn't want it. I do this all the time. I think about something and I'll be like, oh, that's so cool, I should really buy that. And then guess what? I don't buy it and I forget about it. And then I have more money because I didn't buy it. So definitely stop impulse spending, because it is a really, really easy way to throw off your budget, ruin your savings, and keep living paycheck to paycheck. My last and final tip is not exactly something that you need to do to stop living paycheck to paycheck, but it'll definitely help. And what I recommend is doing like a spring cleaning or a fall cleaning, just going through a whole bunch of your stuff. I know that I personally had so many things that I didn't use, like clothes and shoes and kitchen appliances, sports equipment, just like random things that I had laying around my house that I had not used or worn in months. So I went through all of my stuff and picked out all the things that I didn't wear anymore or I didn't use anymore, and I was able to sell them. So I had an old pair of skis, old ski pants, some old sports stuff. There's a lot of secondhand sports stores you can bring used sports equipment to, and they'll sell it for you and then you get money from it. There's also consignment shops if you have nice clothes, like Plato's Closet, Buffalo Exchange, and then higher end consignment shops where you can take your lightly used clothing, whether it's from like Forever 21 or designer clothing, and either they buy it from you right then on the spot, or you can put it in the shop, and once it sells, you get money from it. Why I recommend doing this is it's a way to jumpstart your income, and it's also just a way to clean out things and get rid of things that you don't need, and maybe help you realize that you don't need a whole bunch of material things. You can also sell kitchen appliances, random things that you have on Craigslist or LetGo. I know there's plenty of different apps out there for that. I've done that. I've sold old furniture, I've sold skis, I've sold all kinds of random things on Craigslist, and people buy it. Old phones, if you have old phones laying around, or old computers, you can sell those. Old cameras, people will buy that. You'd be surprised. So definitely go through your things and get rid of some stuff that you don't need. You'll feel better about it too, I promise. So that concludes my video on how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Please like and subscribe. Also, if you want to stop living paycheck to paycheck but you don't know how to build a budget and you need help, please click on the budget video link that I have linked below, and I'll see you next time.